Why, hello there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my name is Mr. Dogbo333 and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order, as the West Siberian People's Republic. Now last video we started working on some bunker building, establishing those hidden communes, and we tried to raid Magnitogorsk, but the game decided to be a little weird about whether or not it was going to allow me to do so or not. So we could not do that. But you know what? What are you going to do? It happens. Anyway, it's time to go behind the times. Whatever that means, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll find out, won't we? Modern technology is all well and good, but what use is it if our factories are too damaged to produce them? The fact is, all the luxuries of the modern world will have to wait until the People's Republic isn't getting pelted with bombs nearly every day. And we can actually get our industry back up and running. The solution lies in providing the people with older, more antiquated goods. Although they are less convenient to use, they are much easier to produce, especially in stressful times like ours. After all, when it rains death on a regular basis, our people would hardly be picky with what goods and services they have access to. In fact, they should consider themselves lucky that they're getting anything at all. There we go. I believe I am saving up to get power grids. Did I already get those last video? I'm blinking right now. I might have gotten those last video. I don't see the option. Let me check. No, we did get those last video. Excellent. I didn't realize, but that's great. So we're finally caught up. Get back to working on some of our development stuff. No. Nice try, bro. Just because I tried to do it to you, you're not doing it to me. Get buggered. There we go. What else do we want? Let's do some external investments. Yeah. And that instantly pays off our national debt. Impeccable. Impeccable indeed. And we'll even have a little bit of reserves to pull out of for some of this other stuff. Probably military holdouts. Not military holdouts. Oh no, this is what was going to take the money out of. That's alright. We will do military holdouts, though, next. Now that plenty of bomb shelters have been made available for our people, they can now sit in relative comfort and safety as Luftwaffe attempts in vain to break their binding spirit. But what of the military? How can they hope to keep watch against our many enemies with explosives being rained down on their heads on a regular basis? Simple. We shall build even more fortifications. This time, the locations of our fortified positions shall be chosen with the military in mind. The most likely lines of defense shall be turned into impenetrable redoubts that are most likely safe from any kind of aerial attack, as well as being well prepared for potential ground assaults. Am I getting a ping? Hold on, I gotta check this real quick. There we go. That's nothing. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, doing some military holdouts. We will continue on. Hope y'all are doing well today. Ooh, is this Decemberist? Modernist Tomsk, okay. Interesting. I like the color. It is a very nice color, I gotta say. Annual budget is... Oh, we still have a surplus. Pretty decent surplus at that. I could try doing some tax cuts. And that would potentially help grow our GDP. Get a little bit of deficit spending. But I could down a little bit on military, a little bit on social spending. And that'll help out with our growth, at least a little bit. Quite a bit, actually. There we go. Yeah, it's nothing too crazy, but once we get the GDP growth, it should be good to go. Let's focus on research. And then I think afterwards we'll train our troops, get that military professionalism up and going. A plume of smoke exited Private Stanislav Karanatov's lungs as he gazed out from the top of the hill. It was a crack of dawn, earlier than the hour before. He was roughly shaken out of bed most days. What could be done? He was on watch, and his duty was to watch. The Red Army tolerated few things less than insubordination. At least he could smoke. He took an appreciative drag on his cigarette and let his eyes to pull him to something interesting. His vision settled on the bomb shelters, placidly sitting in the distance, awaiting their purpose. It might have been the hour of the day, but he was feeling contemplative. He had never quite appreciated how much of an achievement they were. After all, they had faced the collapse of a union, the treason from which the General Corps, the collapse of the West Siberian People's Republic, endured, at least in Tyumen. No amount of bombs or bullets could keep your soldiers of the proletariat from taking back what was rightfully theirs. Sure, the army was strict. To Stanislav and thousands like him, that was nothing compared to the losses they had already suffered. The Red Army stands. Let's go ahead and get working on Avengers Paradise. Comrades, let us face the facts. The West Siberian People's Republic has seen better days. Most of its infrastructure lies in ruins, and countless scores of both civilian and military equipment have been lost to the chaos of the collapse. Now that we're making a serious attempt to get back on our feet, we desperately need that equipment back. Although we currently lack in the industry to produce goods ourselves, there are millions of valuable artifacts from better days that are simply just lying out in the open, waiting to be claimed. The green light has been given to execute a large-scale expedition into no man's land with the goal of rescuing as much lost material as we can. With luck, our scavengers will come home with plenty of abandoned equipment just waiting to be put back to good use. There we go. We got some nice development going for all of our stuff. Except admin efficiency, that could be improved, but hopefully we'll catch up sooner or later. We can scavenge for more loot. Excellent. Go ahead and get more production units going. More civvy factories, I think. Thanks, computing machines. Let's go ahead and... no, let's do that. Got some limited bonuses. I think that's for the radar. Do survival society. In these times, our focus should be less on comfort and more on survival. Our government's decision should be the deciding factor between life or death for hundreds of thousands, and sadly there comes a time when difficult choices will have to be made. This is one of those times. The bombings impact our noble republic on every level, from the innocent people who are helpless against the might of Luftwaffe to our military, which suffers insurmountable casualties every week from the sheer volume of aerial strikes. It is becoming increasingly clear that we cannot save everyone, and a choice is presenting itself. Shall we focus our efforts on protecting the innocent or preserving our military strength? Ooh. What do we want? The collapsing Soviet Union left behind a huge amount of settlements, supply caches, factories, and other structures that the successor statelets never had the budget or ability to reclaim. The WSPR's recent turmoil has delayed our ability to organize large-scale expeditions. Even with these circumstances, the workers win small victories. We've located several salvageable sites in the vicinity of Tyumen. The first is a large store of fuel left behind from an armor division that never deployed. The second is a stash of military equipment abandoned after mass desertions. Least important for the war effort, potentially valuable for morale, is a warehouse of food, clothes, and other civilian amenities. At the moment, we only have resources for one. In our state of total mobilization, fuel arms would be invaluable. There's also a question of how much the people can bear. How are we doing resource-wise? Trade. We have enough oil, so I'm not worried about that. Equipment, I think we're okay on as well. So I think... I actually never really looked at this. This is a fancy little trade embargo thing. We must not harden our hearts, choosing amenities. That little extra bit of revenue I think will be nice as well, especially to build up our state. Go back to the macro. I'm going to try to keep our debt as low as possible for as long as we can. I think I'll go ahead. I'll invest this into our economy directly. Ooh. Only a one-headed one down there. Very nice. Potential freedom for communists all over. Cool, bro. We'll do industrial equipment. Yes, we'll surrender. Take all our non-existent loot. Let's go ahead and do... Yeah, train our troops. That'll be the play. We're gonna get survival society figure out, and then we'll go ahead and look at... First, let's do the Mikhail system. The Tsar? Comrade Mikhail, brother to the chairman, has come forward with a wise proposal for further minimalizing the impact of the bombings. He believes that it would be necessary to devote a significant portion of our effort to mitigate the damage towards ensuring the safety of all personnel considered essential to the cause. Indeed, losing these highly important men and women in a near instant to one of the raids would spell disaster for the Republic. And when this fact is considered that Mikhail's idea begins to carry weight. Under his proposed system, we can both substantially increase the protection afforded to our essential personnel while, at the same time, not being forced to abandon our people to their fate. Every bomb that drops is another choice we must make. Who do we protect? Choice we might. There simply aren't enough bunkers in Tyumen to make sure every soldier is safe. As with anything, there are trade-offs. Each soldier that survives is one that can contribute to the war effort. Many of our brass convincingly argue that we must prioritize the men who can drag us out of this miserable state. And yet, Chairman Kaganovich hesitates. What good are soldiers if they cower, while the people they should be protecting are defenseless? The present crisis will pass, but the next generation will remember our sins. Civilian morale already telling us may not survive the abandonment of women and children to the Luftwaffe's predations. Important voices of the administration believe that we must defend our most vulnerable, so as not lose sight of the morals that drive us. The bombers will not wait for us to make decisions. Better save one group now than to deliberate and lose both. How can we speak for the workers if we don't defend them? That's what I'm saying. Now we've just about overcome the population loss that we get. And actually, we get a little more. Ooh, I need to get tech going. Let's get light support artillery. We can get more construction units up and going. Civilian. Factories, we'll put it towards. And then we probably need some offices, I'm thinking. And our administrative efficiency is not going very well. So let's get working on some offices. There we go. Anium. Let's get working on some of that. Let's get attrition planning. It might be thought that a man like Lazar Kaganovic, who made exceptionally harsh demands of others, would do so out of personal laziness. The opposite was true. Kaganovic was a workhorse. He could usually be found at his office desk, surrounded by a dense cloud of cigar smoke as he pored over documents, breaking up the monotony with occasional shouted phone calls. It was in this state that Mikhail, his brother and economic minister, found him as he prepared to deliver a stack of papers. Mikhail stood in the doorway, coughing as the smoke invaded his lungs. Although Lazar was actually the younger sibling, he couldn't help but feel intimidated. But Mikhail buried his feelings. They were brothers, after all, and that was important. This was important. He waited for Lazar to acknowledge his presence, but the chairman's work continued unabated, either because he didn't hear Mikhail, or because he didn't care. Mikhail cleared his throat. I have some proposals I'd like you to read when you have the time. Oh, yes, of course. Lazar replied unconvincingly, his attention clearly drawn to the already impressive pile on his desk. Seeing that his brother was still standing there, he spoke again, clearly irritated. Do you have any other concerns? I'd like to get back to work, if you don't mind. Mikhail awkwardly took his leave. Although he would rather put faith in his brother, he knew that instinctively his stack of proposals would go unread for a good while longer. Not the rosiest relationship. Well, now we're off the clock. The systems put in place to prevent any significant damage from the bombings took some time to bear results, but it appears they are finally working their magic. The ordnance rained upon us from Luftwaffe now detonates in important locations, while most critical infrastructure survive raid after raid. Meanwhile, deaths caused by the bombings have witnessed a noticeable decrease over the last few months. Once again, our people feel safe going about their business on the surface, so long as the proper precautions are followed. And for the most part, we are no longer having to fear the coming of Luftwaffe. Now we have room to breathe. Perhaps the time has come to start figuring out the ways to clip the fascist wings. So we'll lose the Luftwaffe terror bombings, which is going to be interesting. Is that going to kick off Vesmuta? So early? It's interesting if true. That's actually insanely huge if true. Stefan adjusted himself as they drew closer to target. Flying out here was a stretch of the fuel supply of his bomber, but he was mostly concerned with the boredom the journey entailed. It grew monotonous, spending hours waiting to get close enough, dropping their ordnance, and flying all the way back. He signed up for Luftwaffe, thinking it would be more interesting than being sent to garrison a war camp in Ostland, but it appeared to be as though dull routine followed him out to Siberia as well. He began to sigh, but then suddenly radio chatter exploded. Anti-aircraft fire. He honestly wasn't bothered by it, not nearly as much as the rest of the squadron. A few outdated AA encampments weren't much of a risk to a jet bomber. It merely made his flight more entertaining. If they stayed above a certain altitude, they were untouchable. Comforted by the fact, Stefan looked out the window at the rest of his formation just in time to watch a missile obliterate the Hort to his left. Scheiße! He screamed into the mic, nearly drowning out his commander, ordering them to break formation and return to base. Fear gripping him as training kicked in, wresting control of the aircraft as he fought to turn it around. The radio was filled with the screams of his dying comrades, and the still harmless thumping of the AA encampments no longer felt so trivial. It shouldn't take that long to get out of the range. Even the Russians had missiles. There was no way. Stefan was interrupted by an explosion as his aircraft took a hit. The bomber lurched straight forward. His blade told him the engines were fucked. He looked behind him, his heart dropping into his stomach as he saw the sky where the back third of his plane should be. As the ground rapidly approached, his mortality crushed his chest like a vise. There was no escape. There was no survival. This was the end. Did you see that one, Pavel? It fucking exploded! I'm sure Pavel saw it. Every time he'd written to the local party branch to request adequate air defenses, Maxim had received the same answer. Your village is a low priority. Tyumen and other major settlements are at higher risk of being targeted, and therefore merit the air defenses they can get. Please be patient. Every time he failed, the other villagers would attempt to calm him with soothing reassurances. I don't know why I circled that word. Anyway, there was a great risk of being targeted. When the village was so small and there was nothing of military value here, why would the Germans even bother? Staring out of the blasted wreckage of his livelihood, Maxim could only laugh bitterly at the recollection. No number of platitudes could have protected the village from Luftwaffe when it finally came for them. Exactly as he predicted, he laughed aside as paranoid by the others. They had come in the middle of the day. First, a bomb flattened the Bobrov house, killing the entire family as they ate lunch. Another leveled his barn, and several more obliterated buildings or blasted great craters into empty sections of the field. He'd spent 60 years helping build this community, only for it all to disappear in a single night. Of all the survivors, most couldn't believe what would happen. Why did they choose us of all towns? His wife would tell him. Why us of all people? Maxime found the answer trivial. Perhaps they had found Tyumen too daunting and taken all their anger out on softer targets. He wasn't angry at them. Cursing the Germans' cruelty was like cursing a fox for stealing chickens. It was simply their nature. What boiled his blood was the callous indifference of a party that claimed to spare no expense in protecting the people. Maybe if Lazar Kaganvik hadn't been so obsessed with saving his own skin in Tyumen, their village could have been saved. Not every life receives the same care. But you know who does care about the people? Me. I care about you watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you want to leave any comments, leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get and appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to keep updated with these uploads, hit the sub button and the notification bell. I upload weekdays as well as occasionally Saturdays. Check out my various links down in the description box below, including my Twitch, which I do record on occasionally, and you can catch these videos early before they go up. That's about it for now, my friends. I thank you all for watching. My name has been Mr. Dogboat333, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye now.